All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Defying All Odds podcast. On today's episode, we have a very special guest today, a relief pitcher and a senior at Columbia College. Please welcome Jagger Edwards.
Hello.
So, just to get things started, Jagger, just want to tell a little bit about the viewers about yourself and kind of your background and kind of coming here to Columbia.
Yes, so I'm a senior pitcher on Columbia's team. I'm also studying political science, and I'm originally from San Antonio, Texas, which is kind of where I learned my love for the game, kind of grew through the game, and then was recruited out of there. I went to Reagan High School, and then came up here. I've been playing since I was 6, 7 years old, probably.
Man,
and
you
then started really young, and then got into travel baseball when I was about 9 years old-ish. And then that's where I was kind of playing a little bit more higher level baseball, I guess. And then just got recruited, found my way here. And then,
There you go.
yeah, now I'm here. Happy I came, for sure.
Was Columbia one of your first choices, or was there like one of those places that you came to mind like, oh, if there was a place to play, I'd love to be here?
So surprisingly enough, I wasn't too familiar with Ivy Leagues, or even like had a dream to go Ivy League. My mom went to University of Texas. I grew up a diehard Texas fan, and then
UT, hold the horns up.
Yes, yeah. And then always loved the game, but I was never really thought I was good enough to play past then until my sophomore to junior summer, and then I started kind of getting looked at by coaches, and then that's when I realized that I wanted to play at the next level. And then talked to the Ivy Leagues, talked to some smaller schools in Texas, and then ultimately found my way to Columbia.
What would you say is like what's it like, first of all, being at Columbia and then also being in like the city of New York? Like, how different is that from you being from where you're from in Texas?
Yeah, it was a big culture shock for sure.
Actually?
It's huge culture shock. It's, I mean, much busier lifestyle, just so many more people in and out. And every time I go home, it's like I miss the city, and then when I'm here, I like miss home. So it's kind of finding that balance. But it was a huge culture shock for sure, because it was, I mean, I'm not from a small area. I had like 950 kids in my graduating class for high school. So it was
That's bigger than my
a populated area.
Yes, I'll just tell you, my high school, my class was 98 students.
Well, that's
98.
That's really small.
And we were considered the smallest class
Really?
in the entire school.
Where are you from?
I mean, here, born in New York City.
Yeah, same.
And my high school was pretty small in general. And I think the biggest class that I had from the years I was all the way in, I think the biggest one was like 110.
Okay.
You know,
it didn't even pass more than 120.
You know what's interesting though? It's like my high school, my high school was, like our graduating class was like 135 students. So the whole high school was like 550 kids. So like, just put that into perspective, 935, that's a lot of students.
Literally.
Yeah.
And like my middle school, which was the biggest school I went to at the time before Columbia, we were at like, I think like a little over 2,000 students total, but like my graduating class was like around 500 students. So it was like you can imagine that's like almost the size of my high school, but still that's still half the size of this kid's graduating class.
Definitely. But I mean, it doesn't even compare to like just living in the city.
Oh yeah.
Like just being around that many
That's true.
Yeah.
that many people. That it's a much faster lifestyle. I also miss not having a car. Not having a car is brutal.
I can't see this.
sure.
This like there's never parking here. I keep my car in upstate New York.
Yo.
You can't bring it to the city.
Yo, and then listen, I'm a good driver. I'm a great driver. Excuse me. I'm a great
Remember
driver.
that you got a driving school.
Yes,
You need-
if no one knows, I work at a driving school. My family has a family business. Driving school.
elegant
So
driving
I know driving. I teach it for a living. But damn it, these police cars with the speeding tickets and the parking ticket. Give a guy a break. That's all I'm gonna say, okay? Respectfully.
Oh,
But
my.
okay.
That's
But all right.
it.
But okay, you're here in the city, Columbia University, right? You are a relief pitcher, like you said.
Yes.
Do you have? I assume you have dreams of being a full-on starting pitcher, no?
Yes, actually. So this past year, I'd say I got 3/4 of my innings in the starting role. So
Okay.
so how the season's broken up, it's we play 3-game series on the weekend for our Ivy League, our conference play, and then we'll play 1 midweek game during the week. And it's always out of conference and just like a local team around here. And so
like it switches back and forth throughout the season. Then like you're playing both conference and non-conference. At the
yes,
same time.
yeah. So we play 4 games a week.
Oh wow.
And so just keep going through the season. And so this past year, I was used as like a starter in the midweek games. I'd go like 3 to 4 innings, and then used in the back end of the bullpen on the weekends for the Ivy League
For
games.
context, how many innings are for an Ivy League game?
Just 3 9-inning games.
Oh, okay.
3 9-inning games for Ivy League. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I know, like you said, you are a relief pitcher, and you have, dreams of inevitably being a start pitcher. But you did mention you did counter a surgery. You had to get a surgery.
Yes.
Yes. Particularly.
Yes.
Tell the viewers a little bit about
Yes.
that.
So freshman year was opening series against Stetson, and it was a Sunday game, and I threw like my first inning of work, and it was fine. Second inning, I was like kind of getting some elbow pain, but it was nothing too bad. And then we played a like almost just a little inter squad scrimmage during the week, and coach broke us up into teams and threw against each other. And I threw 3 innings there, and then by the end of it, I was like, yeah, my arm's like kind of cooked. But I never had like a snap or anything like that. It almost just felt really
just
tight.
like sore pain, like you were feeling.
Yes, yeah, more of just a soreness. And then the trainer for us, he suggested I get an MRI and then see the doc and everything. So I got the MRI, and then about a couple weeks later, came back, and he was like, yeah, so you didn't fully tear it. You have like a severe sprain is what they called it. So it's almost like how they kind of showed it to me was where like a full like tearing your UCL, it like completely snaps. And then like a partial tear is it's kind of like fraying at the end. And then a sprain is more of just like, it's very stretched out. And so he was like, all right, so we can put you on a 6-week recovery plan, and then you're going to have to build back into throwing, or we go on with surgery now, and then you'll be out for the rest of the year, obviously. But then I got this new surgery where they don't, so in normal Tommy John, they take a tendon out of you, and then they kind of weave it over your UCL and kind of make a new UCL for you. Oh, okay. And so this was, they just got an external brace, and they went on, they just put it over
you have a
so I still have my same ligament in my arm, but I have almost like just like a layer of kind of protection over it.
Is it like a titanium metal plate you have on it, or?
No, I really should know what it's made of. But
the world may never know.
Yeah, I have no clue. But I was fortunate enough to see Dr. Ahmad. He's the Yankees physician.
Oh wow.
And so actually
at a hospital for special surgery, or?
Yes, yeah. So I got it done at the hospital up at the top of the island, the New York Presbyterian.
Oh, Columbia Presbyterian Hospital, yeah.
Where is that one?
And
168th on
Uptown,
yeah.
Yeah, right on there.
It's where our medical campus is.
168. Oh, I think that's where I was born, bro.
I got it on it's like up on it's right next to the
Allen
athletic.
Hospital then.
Yes.
New York Presbyterian Allen Hospital.
And so I was fortunate enough to see Dr. Ahmad, but I had to wait like 2 weeks before surgery because that was right during when spring training was going on. And so Dr. Ahmad had to go down to Florida, and then so I kind of got delayed a little bit on the surgery. Luckily, it wasn't nothing taxing, but
there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, show the viewers your.
But
so
there's a
war wound,
got a little hefty scar right there.
Yeah, that is tough.
So do you ever feel anything like now when you're throwing or when you're pitching, or?
I still do. I'll get pain when I'm throwing. Usually when I get to, it's always when ramping back up for a season. So like when I'm trying to ramp up to get to where I'm like going full speed and then throwing against like live hitters or throwing multiple innings, like in game under pressure, stuff like that. That's when it's starting to hurt. Usually when I get in like mid-season form, I'll be fine by then, but I do get some pain, especially if I go a little while without throwing.
Right.
Like I pretty much have to throw year round.
Is there any specific pitch that it might aggravate it more?
The slider for sure. Sliders.
What is it about the slider that makes it feel more aggravating? Like
I don't know, because I mean,
is it the grip?
So like the overhead motion is supposed to be like, it's not something you're supposed to. I don't know. Like
it's not a natural body motion.
So, yeah, it's not a natural motion, and so I don't really know. It's more of like getting in this position, like ripping down this way, as opposed to like just staying through it. Because like you're just trying to like
You gotta
torque it.
You have to
Yeah,
snap.
yeah.
snap
You're
it,
trying to
yeah.
like just rip it as hard as you can. Really.
Yeah.
And so that does hurt it. That's when it yanks a little on it. And I'm like,
Can you just describe a little bit about like what your recovery was like for kind of
yes,
coming
yeah.
back?
So I was in a brace for 6 weeks.
Okay.
And then started my PT. When I got out of the brace, my arm was like this thin, like the whole way down. Couldn't really move it. So then the first part of PT is like gaining your range of motion back. And then from there, I just built strength. It's a lot of like shoulder, like back, like scap strength. And then obviously like bicep, tricep, forearm. And then threw my first ball at the 4-month mark, I believe. And then I started like a 2-month progression back to throwing, to where week by week, I'd throw like 2 days a week and then ramp up to 3 and then 4 and then keep getting more distance in my throws.
What was it
Throw
like
the
to
ball a little harder?
What was it like to kind of like get to where you were in terms of like velocity wise, or getting to making sure your pitches were landing in the zone? where you wanted it to be?
I'd say the hardest part about it was I just forgot how to like move my body. Like you weren't doing anything for 3 months. Like I couldn't run. I couldn't do any sort of athletic movements for a while. And so it was more of like getting my athleticism back, getting my strength back, getting confidence. Confidence back was a big one. And then kind of just getting to where you can progress without worrying about the elbow. Because there's still the whole mental side of like, all right, you're ramping up, but I'm still having elbow pain. So like subconsciously in my body, I'm not going full speed because I'm limiting it to kind of protect the body. And so, and then I'd say I got back to where I was throwing full speed, like good to go at about 9 to 10 months. And then threw in game for the first time at like 12 or 13 months. I'd say it wasn't until the 16th month mark where I was like 100% like feeling how I did before. And because also on top of that, it's like your body's changing. So it's like, I'm like gaining muscle in places I didn't have, and I'm gaining like more range of motion. And so a lot of the rehab coming back is just kind of finding the athleticism, getting into good positions to throw to where you're not hurting your body. Like, I guess working on the mechanics is what they call it.
I see. Okay. I mean, so through all of that, right? What helped you kind of get through it all? Like, what was there like? I mean, outside of just trying to get back into play, obviously, but like, was there like any external force or anything outside that kind of like always that you kind of came back to remind you like, this is what I'm doing it for?
Oh yes, definitely working like religiously.
Yeah.
Like just kind of staying true to the process, trying to kind of put my trust in God above and trying to stay true to the faith. That was a big help. My friends, family pushing me, coaching staff, the training staff was amazing. But like, I'd say overall, just kind of keeping the positive spirit, staying like looking in scripture, looking and trying to get my, get everything.
Well, what I will say is that in the 4 years that I've known you, I can say that you are a very positive-minded person. You always do have a smile on your face,
Yeah.
As you should, man.
I mean, you got to.
Thank you.
You got to live life. I think that one of the main aspects when you kind of hear these stories of like overcoming an injury, right? It's like the first thing is like when it first happens, I'm sure like what were the emotions like versus when you're comparing like the doctor tells you, by the way, like you might need to get surgery versus when you're finally cleared to play again. Like those are two very drastic different emotions that you're going through.
Definitely. I mean, at first when I like came out and like knew that I had to see the doc, I was like, oh my goodness, like I can't have this. Cause like I was freshman playing in college for the first time, like just like
you're playing Division I baseball,
having like just so much emotion, so excited about everything. And then hearing that I couldn't play anymore for potentially a whole year, turns out what it was like, it was very heartbreaking. It was like, dang, like, cause especially after we go through the whole fall of putting all the work in and then go throughout spring into early semester spring when you're actually getting to show yourself and play against other guys and then play against other teams other than just scrimmaging yourself. And so that was definitely heartbreaking. But I'd say it is very, very rewarding once you get back to where you're playing again. You're like, okay, yeah, like I went through the whole process, like body's feeling good, feeling strong, and like getting back to that state to play again is a very good feeling. It's very like, wow, like I wouldn't say I did it. I mean, it's still like I still have a long ways to go. Like ultimately, I'd love to find myself playing in the major leagues, playing for the Yankees or something.
Yes, bro, play for the Yankees. Get
Slow down.
All right,
I mean, come to Queens. You know, you got the Metropolitans. You got the New York Metropolitans.
Are you listening to this now?
Best owner all of baseball. That's all
Okay.
I'm saying.
I was gonna say something else, but I'm gonna just have to bring it up. You're an Astros fan.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't know he was an Astros fan until we got into this table. Okay.
But
So I wouldn't be here right now.
This would have never happened.
But you know what's funny? The video of the what year is it? 2019 Arnold's Chapman slider to Jose Altuve. That
Wow.
video is just on
Yeah.
repeat.
It's a good moment.
It's a great moment.
Only
See,
a
great
Mets
moment
fan
right there.
would
See,
think about that because they don't know what the playoffs are like to begin with.
Yeah, 2022 we do. We were in the wild card against the Padres. Like
101 wins, and you lost to the Padres. Enough said. Okay? At least we can say we went to the LCS. Okay,
hey,
we got swept.
They lost against my favorite third baseman, Manny Machado. But
what I wanted to ask to you about that, because we already on the topic, right? Astros, right? You're from Texas, so it's a given. You want to root for your home
Yeah.
team,
Yeah.
okay? But coming from a person like you who also plays baseball, what is your position on like what happened in that situation in general? Like, what did you like as a fan, but also as a player?
What situation are you talking about?
I mean, do I need to say it out loud? Because if I have to, I'll say it.
Oh
These
my!
kids cheated.
Hey,
The
they
Astros
no.
cheated.
the 2017 World Series.
Astros
No, they're not.
cheated. In 2017, they screwed not the Yankees, not just the Dodgers, but the entire organization and the league.
It's part of the game.
Okay.
It's part of the game.
Okay.
You gotta find a way to win.
Do you? Okay.
No, honestly, in that whole aspect,
As a fan-
I will
as a
say
fan-
what they did was wrong.
Okay.
Should they get the title taken away from them? No. I mean, at the end of the day, you still got to hit. I'm a little biased. Hardest thing to do in sports is hit a baseball.
I agree.
Fortunately, I don't have to do that.
You just gotta make sure they don't hit it now.
Yeah.
You just gotta pray.
And but yeah, they still had to hit the ball. They still had to generate runs somehow and win games. So
That's fair. That's fair.
the buzzer when
Oh, they like don't take off my shirt. Yeah. All that jazz. Okay, listen. I mean, again, as a Yankees fan,
fine.
listen. I'll give them their flowers because they won it a few years later, right? They swept-
2022.
Yeah, 22.
Mhm.
They won in 22. So they did. I mean, hopefully they didn't cheat, right? I listen. And you know what's funny too? In 2017, I was rooting for them to win over the Dodgers. Just to
That's the Essex.
like I'm gonna just tell you that right now. I was hoping for them to win, and I was happy. I was like, okay, great, a new team, never won before. You know, that's great for the sport. And then when I found out, I'm like, you know what, bro?
Yeah.
Now we're just
yeah,
enemies.
it is brutal. I'll tell you what, every team does it though.
No,
I'm not
listen,
gonna
it's
say
like-
every team does have some sort
Yeah,
of
no.
To a certain
If
aspect.
you're not trying, like, to get an edge, right? I mean, I feel like you're not trying enough. You know what I mean? And not to say that you have to do something like to the extent that they did, because
I'm not saying what they did was right.
But there's levels to it.
I'm saying that like it's nowhere near to the point where like you should take anything away from them
Okay.
in that aspect.
You know, you bring up an interesting point in the sense that like the first thing I think about is like when you're talking about scandals that come out right in baseball. It's like you look at, for instance, take Pete Rose for instance, right, where he was with the gambling, right?
Yeah.
But you look on today's world where sports gambling is now legal, and it's like now there's people saying, well, if sports gambling's legal today, why did Pete Rose get repercussions and not make it to the Hall of Fame because he did it back then when it wasn't legal? So it's like there's certain avenues that you have to kind of cross over. I think that with like in terms of the Astros and like that situation in 2017, I think it's more so the league doesn't really want the bad press. That's kind of what gets us. So because you know to take a trophy away from a team is already a lot And so I think it's more so of a bad press situation rather than, but I don't think it takes away from the fact that obviously, you know, what happened shouldn't have happened in the first place. And obviously there were repercussions, right? Like for instance, I'll give you an example, like Carlos Beltran, who was a member of the 2017 World Series roster, interviewed for a job on the Mets to be our new manager, and the Mets were not allowed to hire him because of the results.
Well, it wasn't more like they weren't allowed. They decided not to because of the situation.
But then again, it goes back to bad press. You don't want bad press because of it. So,
but it's all politics.
But all I'm gonna say is Arnold's Chapman, Altuve home run 2019.
I'm just gonna say the Mets still haven't won anything, and we're gonna leave it at that, okay?
1986, my friend, and 1969.
1986.
Did I have to say anything else?
It's 40 years ago.
Your Yankees haven't been relevant since 09, but that's a different conversation.
Listen, I don't even want to get into it because we can do another 45 minutes just on this, bro.
That's all.
What are we thinking about the 50-50 and
that's
with Shohei?
Yeah.
I think it's great. I mean, obviously history. That's always amazing.
That ball is actually worth right now. They said you could buy it outright for $4.5 million. The starting bid's going to be $500,000 with the auction starting this Sunday.
Well, we'll see what happens.
That's a lot.
I mean,
that's a
lot. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's great. I think the better conversation is if he deserves the MVP or not, right? Because everybody's like, okay, yeah, he's done 50-50. But he doesn't play defense. And then you look at someone like...
I'm going to be a bit biased here. I'm going to go say that Lindor deserves the MVP. But if you look at the numbers shortstop-wise, no other shortstop's doing what Lindor is doing in the league. He started off the season in a slump, and then his numbers, he leads every shortstop in almost every category in terms of WAR, in terms of batting average, in terms of stolen bases, with the exception of Shohei, of course. But
that's the key word, though. I mean, the exception and shortstop. You know,
but it's
true.
What do you think?
I think I think Shohei is he's probably the best athlete on this planet. Like in terms of what he's doing, like just when you look at the wide range of like sports, like playing both sides of the ball, that's not like ever heard of.
Yeah, no. I mean, other than
Babe Ruth, yeah, like
Babe Ruth.
And even then, when can you say where a guy's averaging sub 2.5 ERA, but he's throwing like 9 Ks in a game and he's averaging like a hit or two in a game?
Exactly. I mean, his WAR. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with that stat. It's basically like
tell the people.
Yeah, it's basically just how much you generate for the team in terms of like win. It's wins above replacement. So it's like. Without you, how much better or worse is your team? And so he has just off the charts, just crushing everyone in WAR because he plays both sides of the ball. Exactly. But it's like, so if you can have that guy and like, hopefully there's more like him to come, but it's just such an outlier that it's like.
I mean, and just in other words, it's basically like, how valuable is this player for your team? Right? And in other words, Shohei has the highest rating value for any player in the league as of right now.
And Lindor leads that category in with all shortstops in the NL.
Yes, and then you also think about, again, just shortstop, right? And listen, no disrespect to Lindor because it's great. And also, if you think about it, and not even to be biased, look at Aaron Judge, right? What he's doing right now.
Oh, yeah.
56 homers.
Right. Oh, and another one I just want to point out because like I feel like nobody talks about him. Jose Ramirez.
Yeah, I was about to say, he just hit the 40-40 club.
He's in the 40-40 club. Not a single person knows about that.
Yeah.
Literally. Not
Well,
I found that out because it popped up on my feed.
I found it out through a Dominican newspaper.
Right, exactly.
To be honest, I didn't even know about that.
Exactly. Nobody's talking about it because what Ohtani has done since and as of right now is something so unicorn-like that everything that Judge has been doing, Lindor is doing, Jose is doing, doesn't even hold a candle to the extent that he's at. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
The problem that I think is that, for instance, everyone's so focused on the 50-50 club, but people forget that Ohtani broke the record almost 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
Because he hit the 43-43 club,
now it's like he can do 60-60.
Which people are mentioning now.
And he's putting up games like going 6 for 6, like 3 bombs and like
10 RBIs. That's like a stat you would see in MLB The Show.
It is.
I'm sure
that's
you
like
and plenty of your teammates probably play as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Bro, I saw that and I told my friends, I was like, bro, that's the equivalent to like in the NBA getting like a quadruple double. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that's like 10 points, 10
more,
assists, 10 rebounds, 10 steals. Like you don't do that in a game. You don't do that.
But think about also not just going 6 for 6, but getting 6 plate appearances period in a game.
Yeah, true.
Like that means that your whole team had to be consistent.
Bro, they won that game 20-4.
That's like
against the Marlins. That thing was I didn't watch it, but to see the score.
That's like a football score. It's literally like a football score.
It is crazy. Like, yeah, to put it in perspective, like you go 1 for 3 every game, you're gonna be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
Going 6 for 6s.
But I think that something that we could all take away from Ohtani is definitely like his humbleness towards the media. And
True.
like
he's a good guy.
Like you
Great
see
guy.
other people, right? Like for instance, there was Pedro Martinez was interviewing him, and he was even speaking to him a little bit in Spanish.
Oh yeah, I saw that clip. Yeah.
So I think that humbleness definitely speaks true to character. But it's like you said, going back to kind of what you were going through with like your Tommy John thing. It's like making sure that obviously you keep a positive-minded spirit to carry you through those tense moments. That's kind of what like leads you to that light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Definitely.
And especially like I know, for instance, any time where you feel like the world is just completely turned against you, right? And you got your back on your wall, and you feel like you got all this pressure, all this weight on your shoulders, your family's watching, all your friends are watching. It's like, it's really up to you to perform, right? But you can't perform if you don't necessarily have the right mindset, the right positive spirit to kind of keep going forward. And so, I mean, I kind of always take that quote from my grandma. She always said, keep going forward no matter what happens. Gotta let that foot off the gas.
Definitely. I mean, it's just like sports are so mental.
No, absolutely.
In the first place, it's like confidence is really everything. Like if you don't believe in yourself, then you're not gonna.
It's funny you mentioned that. There's a moment that I think back to, is spring training a few years ago. Yadier Molina's catching, and then you got a runner on the Tigers. I forgot his name. And he looked at Yadier, and Yadier Molina was like, "Go try to steal second base." And sure enough, what happened on the next pitch? The runner on first decides to try to steal second base. Yadier Molina catches it, throws a bullet to second base, and he was out by more than a mile. Let's say like 2 miles.
Crazy.
The guy wasn't even halfway to second.
He didn't even get to slide.
Like he didn't even get to slide, and it was like. And then he just kind of gave up and just like kind of jogged towards the out. And then Molina looks at him, he's like, "I told you, like, don't try to steal on me." And like you said, confidence is really everything, because that's kind of what not just leads towards a positive outcome, but it leads to wins in a game as well.
Exactly.
And I mean, again, you with the Tommy John. Shohei, technically, he's had one
through.
officially, and he had a reconstruction, but they didn't officially say it's Tommy John. Now, being that you are a pitcher again, like, is there a pitcher that you try to strive yourself to be like, or is there one that you look up to? Like, what do you try to emulate?
I'd say, I mean, I've always loved watching DeGrom throw. He is like, just has the cleanest mechanics. Like he throws the ball 100 miles per hour, and it's like the most effortless thing ever. Like he just went through definitely an idol. Yeah, and he just went through Tommy John. But yeah, DeGrom, I'd say. It's honestly for our generation, I'd say DeGrom has to be a big name for a lot of people. Just in all the modern baseball of like analytics and breaking down mechanics and what you do well, what you don't do well. Like watching DeGrom it has helped me a lot. Just get into like see the positions he gets into, like in terms of like going down the mound, like generating force down the mound, like. And it just makes it look so effortless, but like he's throwing the ball harder than almost anyone.
The thing they always said was that DeGrom is the best pitcher in all of baseball when healthy. That was always attached to his name. Multiple Cy Young awards. I remember when he was on the Mets, Met legend, of course. He would consistently not get enough wins on his record. His records weren't that crazy. I mean, there were times where he'd go like 2-7, and you'd be like, "Why is he 2-7 on the season?" Well, it's because we can't put up runs for the guy. The guy would give up.
It's because he's playing for the Mets.
Yeah, he would pitch 7 innings for us in a game, and he could have like 8 Ks, and then give up 1 run and 2 hits across the whole game. And then our bullpen comes in, and then bye, there goes the game. And
it's called Mets.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, don't get me started. Your Yankees aren't doing any better.
Listen, I told you we're gonna. Please.
Let's break y'all apart.
Please, bro, hold me back, bro. We can get at it, bro.
But it's like, someone like him, like where his mechanics, it's like, you could just imagine the struggles he goes through, where he just like he knows he has that.
He's capable.
Right. He knows he has the capability to get maybe even all 27 outs if he really had to. But the problem isn't him doing so. The problem is him keeping that arm healthy.
Yeah.
That's always been DeGrom's problem.
Yeah.
Where it's like trying to make sure where you could just stay on the field. Do you ever have like, I guess in your moments when you're on the field where even now, right, after your surgery, where you're just like thinking if that fear lingers in your head where you're like, oh God, I hope this doesn't happen again, or I hope I don't get something else that happens to my arm?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's more of just like you got to keep such a empty mind. You got to be able to clear the mind quickly because it's like bad stuff will happen and then it could tumble real quickly. And so like that's another like a big thing we work on is just like taking a breath, stepping off, like hit a little reset. Like yes, with the pitch clock, we have 20 seconds, but you don't have to get up there and just fire and then keep going. Like
You take your time.
one after another. You can step off, get recollected a little, like deep breath. A lot of people will find parts of the stadium like
look at.
I've heard like there's some big leaguers like they'll pick a part of their scoreboard and you'll see them like step off and like look out into the outfield or kind of fix their gaze into like their hat. They'll take their hat off, like have some positive like reinforcement like written in your hat. There's a lot of like little tricks people have for
What would you say?
staying confident, staying positive. I have some stuff written in my hat. I like to get off and like with my feet kind of like brush the mound, like just like kick the dirt off the mound, kind of just like
kick the bad vibes out.
Yeah,
There
sure.
you go.
Kick the bad
Do you
vibes
like
out.
the pitch clock in general?
Yes, I do. I'm a huge fan of it. It makes games flow
Okay.
a lot quicker, and also it kind of it leaves like the game more to like action based. Whereas
is
like
what
you
they
can
want.
go there and like
That
pick
is the
off
goal,
10
yeah.
times in a row, and you're like, all right, just come on and throw the ball. Like you're just delaying the game.
Right,
like,
exactly.
But yes, so it does make the game flow a lot better. Keeps the game short because it's like no one wants to go out there and watch a 3.5 hour baseball game. Like,
And it's still
they
1-1
wanna-
or something.
yeah.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
I love a great pitcher's duel, right? But you mentioned about the analytics. Are you a big fan of it?
Oh yes, definitely. It is unbelievable the analytics that are going into the sport now. It's just like it's very changing the game. Like you can see someone that has like it used to be back then, like the harder you throw, the better you are. But now you'll see there's people in the major leagues that are throwing like low 90s that are getting everyone out. And there's like guys to where it just has everything to do with how the ball is breaking, where you're releasing it from, like the spin on it, the spin axis, which direction it's like the direction, it's like the vertical approach angle. It's like the direction at which the ball is coming
They drag
through
and all
the
that
zone.
stuff,
Yeah, there's so much that goes into it. And then there's just much more even on the hitting side as well. And there's a lot more technology that's giving us this change in the game.
Do you think it, like with all these analytics, do you think it's like a little too much? Because I feel like and like you can look at it in one position, like maybe some like while it's great to have all these little techniques, I've noticed with a lot of players nowadays, when certain teams try to like sign a player, they look at those analytics so hard that they be like, because he does this X, Y, and Z, he's not gonna be a good fit, right? But then you put him on a team and he changes the entire dynamic of the group, right?
Yeah,
And you can't get that with numbers.
Yeah, because it's like analytics is just on the paper. Like it's
Right.
like you can see someone. You're like, okay, yeah, he has a fairly good fastball, like a plus slider, changeup, and like anything like that. But at the end of the day, it's like just a battle between you and the guy in the box.
How can
So
you
it's
get
like
it from
who's
winning to winning?
who's gonna win that. So, I mean, analytics is awesome, but also you still got to play the game.
You know
win.
what? It's funny you say that because there's a lot of pitchers where you look at, right? Even like the closers. I think back to on the Mets, we have Edwin Diaz, and in reality, he only has 2 pitches. I mean, unless you really want to count a 4-seam and a 2-seam as 2 different pitches, but like it's still a fastball at the end of the day. Like, he's just a fastball slider type of guy, and he went a whole game where he was just throwing 2-seam, 4-seam, where like and 4 outs, and he got 4 outs against the Reds. It was a series about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago now, and because his slider was just not there, and it's like he still got the win, he got the save. Simply because he trusted his fastball more than his slider for that game.
What's crazy to think about with Edwin Diaz, like if you look at his fastball, like analytics wise or like metrically, like how good is his fastball? It's not that good of a pitch.
Like when you average it out, like it's not.
Yeah,
it's not something.
so they do a lot of the measurements of like
The drop
vertical
angle,
break and horizontal break, like what it's breaking. And like technically on paper, he throws like a flat fastball,
I see.
like a fastball that you should
It's
be
like
able to hit.
straight,
But it's
yeah.
just like,
The
yeah,
speed.
he has a elite like approach angle and the speed, obviously, and very deceptive with how he moves his body.
Well, yeah,
So-
I mean, if you see like the way he like loads up, it's like you think that pitch is
Yeah.
going to come one way, and as a batter, you're anticipating something
Mhm.
that comes the other way, and it also goes back to the idea of trying to make sure that your batter is like kind of unsusceptible or kind of like second guessing you, right? Because, like we said with the Chapman video, right, like. As a batter, I'm sorry to keep bringing it back to you, but like
You can pick any close. Anyone in the room.
The Chapman video, you
You
remember?
remember Chapman? Yeah, I remember it in my brain. It's rent free, bro. Don't worry. I
Right,
didn't forget
but
it.
like it's like you go 2 fastballs and a slider. What's the next pitch? It's like you know the slider's coming.
All right, and this is my remote.
You know the slider's coming.
Once upon a time, we had this guy named Mariano Rivera, right?
Oh yeah.
Last time I checked, he really only threw one pitch, right? That's what everybody said. It was
Yeah.
a cutter,
Yeah.
right? And that man, for whatever reason,
He had 5 pitch types though.
okay. But everybody knows if he threw that cutter, it was GG for anybody.
Yep.
Basically, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's like it's funny. Like again, it plays with the analytics, but it also plays with how well you throw the ball, right? With the mechanics itself, like you said, with the launch angle and how it breaks and things of that nature. And I think baseball, people look at it as a very boring game, but when I think baseball at its heart, when you look at it like in the details, it becomes way more beautiful than you think it is.
Oh,
It
absolutely.
is. There's so much more that goes
Yeah.
into baseball. That's just
It's like
and just
it's
watching
like you know when you paint a canvas, like
Yeah.
to make an analogy, right? You look at the picture as a whole, and you're like, okay, that's a cute picture of a girl just posing, right? But then you look into the details, and you see the background and the foreground and the colors that they use, and then you see that there's layers on top of that picture of a girl just standing there, and now that picture is well known and regarded
Yeah.
all over the world, right? And I know what you're talking about. You already know what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Okay,
I didn't even
yeah.
say Mona Lisa, and you instantly
I was
thought-
thinking about
Mona
Lisa.
you see,
yeah.
and you see my point, right? Because it's the layers that bring it all together, and then that's what makes it so beautiful.
You know,
Yeah, wow.
there's another
That
tool.
was so well focused.
Yeah, that's clap it up for that one.
Give me some real- come on. Thank you. I'll pull that one out real quick.
But you know, one stat that I look at is now you got the MLB has StatCast now, right?
Yeah.
And it's like before StatCast, the way they would track home run balls would be they would utilize not just a radar gun, believe it or not, but they would also utilize like kind of like a predetermined form of StatCast. So it wasn't to the extent of what we have it now. Now you get StatCast and it's like you got launch angle of the baseball, hang time, you got
Yeah.
distance, you got like the break of it, how long it was in the air. And so all of these like different measurements are being calculated. And that also goes into now batter analytics in terms of how powerful can they hit from the right side or versus the left side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that definitely
And-
goes into it.
Yeah, a lot of these batters now, like after every single pitch they see, they're getting feedback on whether or not it was a strike or not.
Yeah.
Like there's so much that's going. They're measuring like how many times you swing at balls in the zone, like how good of an eye you have. They're even on the catching side, like how many balls you can steal, called strikes.
I see,
You know what I
see,
mean?
see,
So
see.
like that's why your boy Jose Trevino.
Yes.
He had like just by far the best. I can't even think of the name of it. It's just
Where you
kind of
just, like,
stealing
catch up,
strikes.
yeah.
Yeah. It's called zoning, as they call it.
Where, like,
you
how
pos-
you
frame and
position,
everything like
yeah.
that.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty good at it. Unfortunately, we got a rookie. He's cooking. Jose, you were the GOAT, platinum glove.
Jose.
So there you
I'm
go.
bringing you his boy. I'd love to meet you. I'm gonna just say that right now. Okay, I'd love to meet you, bro. Okay.
But you know, you
Oh,
bring
wow.
a great point, Jagger, in terms of calling strikes and balls. Do you ever feel like how important would you say when you're on the mound, for instance, and is your communication with your catcher?
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, I want to
It's-
answer that too. Yeah.
definitely. That is a big part of it. Just like if you have a big catcher back there that can steal strikes for you all day long, it just makes your confidence so much better because you don't have to throw the ball in the strike zone. You can
Right.
throw it a couple inches outside, a ball off the plate or something, still getting it called for strikes. Like it's very It's ideal for sure.
But
It's
do you ever feel like, how do you kind of manage maneuver yourself around a situation where the umpire's not giving you the calls that you're looking for? If like, you could have swore you threw a strike and then you're getting called the ball. And now the count's 2 or even 3-1 when you anticipated.
Yes, yeah. I mean, that kind of goes back to just like clearing your mind, because that gets me a little fired up when it happens. I'm like, all right, that's just clearly a strike.
Hey, bro,
and so,
you don't see black?
like, yeah. And so that's
a quarter strike, call it.
Come on, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And so that's when you need to like step off, kind of like get recollected. But
Keeping your composure.
yes, yeah, you just want to keep it, because at the end of the day, it's like, yes, like the difference between even like statistics wise, like going from a 1-1 count, like going to a 1-2 count, between going to a 2-1 count, like or 2 balls and 1 strike compared to 1 ball and 2 strikes is like just I can't even think of the number, but the batting average between those 2 counts goes up like 200 points.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's insane. Just one call to the next.
Before we end this off, too, I just want to know, too. Inevitably, I know you said you want to be in the MLB.
Yeah.
If you had to pick a team that you would want to play for, who would you want to play?
The Mets.
Oh.
Let him speak.
I'm out to say the
Let him
Mets.
speak. Just let him
Come
speak.
on.
Dude, I would.
If you had to pick, they said, listen. all
New
these
York
countries
bright
that-
lights in Queens. Come on.
If they
Yeah.
said, they
I
put
would
all the
love it.
contracts.
I would go for the Yankees.
My God, this is my.
I'm so sorry, man.
No,
I'm
no,
so
no,
sorry.
Sorry. It's-
That-
I mean,
no
dude,
one's
it's just
better.
such a historical
No, of
club,
course.
like
It really is, though.
in New York, like kind of the
You
same reason we
You
came
could
here.
be in
like,
New
going
York
to
and rep the blue and orange on
Nobody give a damn.
right on the 7 trains right over there.
You know what else is there? The Ford.
Hey, you could play with Edwin Diaz. How cool would that be?
There, Jada's there all the time.
The club.
Alec Rodriguez. Marlon Rivera.
Those guys.
Yeah.
Those guys are retired. We're talking about like current.
What did you say
players.
again?
I said Edwin Diaz, Lindor, Pete Alonso. Pete, if you're watching
Oh
this,
my-
please
Pete
resign with the
Alonso.
He
Mets.
is not going to stay.
He's staying.
Listen, bro. Okay. Nah.
Oh,
Please
my.
stay.
That's awesome.
Is there any place that we can they can check you out in the Instagram? Or
Oh,
they can watch your
yeah,
games,
yeah.
Stuff like that?
Yeah, sure. You can follow me on Instagram, Jagger.Edwards. You can watch all of our games on ESPN Plus. We don't start till the fall, but February
Please check
should be
them
a
out.
good time.
If you want to go
Great
see
time.
Jagger pitch, go check the links down in the description.
Yeah.
Link in bio.
You want to see some super average pitching? You can go down there and check me out.
Listen, man, he's gonna be a star. He's gonna be playing with Jose Trevino. Well, he's gonna be on the Yankees, winning us number 29.
Oh,
This year we're
my
gonna win 28, right? Of course.
Yeah.
So you're gonna help us get number 29, and I'm gonna be there rooting for my boy, like, yo, Jagger!
This is the problem with Yankee fans is that their only argument is 27. That's the only argument they have.
Yeah.
Other than that, you're
Yeah.
irrelevant beyond 2009. Like let's
We're
be-
not irrelevant though. When we play bad, we're on the news. When we play good, we're on the news. What else do you need, bro? The Knicks were last place.
You mean Mets?
No, the Knicks.
Oh,
The Knicks.
okay.
Talk
We're
about the
talking-
Knicks.
we're talking
Because
about
the Mets,
basketball
even
now.
when they play bad, nobody cares. When the Knicks played bad, they were still on the news. When they play great, they're still on the news. They're
Because the
always
Knicks
relevant.
run New York. That's
They're
why.
relevant. The Yankees are relevant. The Mets, right? At least you can, listen.
Yes.
I hate the Astros, but at least you can say they always talk. They run their mouth enough that they always
The
like-
Astros. I would love to play for the Astros. That would be,
I
that'd
mean,
be
you
great.
could, like, if you want to.
Hey,
Yeah.
so you know what's funny is that in the Dominican Republic, all those baseball academies are over there. So the
Oh,
Astros one is actually right down the road from
Yeah.
where
They
my
got a
uncle-
lot of
The whole
Dominicans.
team is
They got a lot of
Dominican.
Dominicans.
Yeah.
The Yankees need more Dominicans.
They do.
Jose,
They do.
you his boy. Talk to Aaron Boone, talk to Chapman, sign Soto, get some more Dominicans, and that's you're gonna win a ring.
Soto's coming to Queens next season. Let's just put it that way. Offer him
Oh, my.
$625 for 10 years.
I think that's all the time we have.
I think so.
I think
too.
that's all the time
I
we
think
have.
so too.
All right, nah, but for real
I'm gonna
though,
break out into
Jagger,
a fight over here.
Listen, you bring baseball into this conversation.
I-
I can go for like 3 hours.
You,
bro.
you know, like that's versus
It's a great
Yankees.
sport.
Great
It's
sport.
It's
better
easy to
sport.
talk about.
Don't tell me that basketball is better. Don't tell me that football, American football. Football, European, like football. Let's get it right.
Soccer.
Okay, anyway.
It's
Listen,
football.
Jagger, this was a pleasure. It was great. I hope
Thank
you
y'all for
enjoyed. I had
having
a
me.
blast.
Thank y'all for
I-
having me.
I had a blast.
No,
Awesome.
for real. But as always, You can always see us on YouTube. You can watch his games on ESPN. The link is gonna be in the description.
Check out our Instagram and TikTok as well down in the description.
Everything is gonna be
And
there.
LinkedIn.
And as always, you
LinkedIn.
got Jesse right here,
Jesse.
your boy Jagger right here, Rafa, you already know. Defy all the odds.
Defy the odds. Thank y'all.